And we have another soils like saline or alkaline soils. Saline or alkaline soils. We have peaty or marshy soils. Peaty or marshy soils. How many are there now as of today? As of now? Next. Montane soils. And last. Have you ever seen a soil across a desert? What kind of soil do we have? Or desert or sandy soils, isn't it? So, across your Indian landmass, we find a specific feature called, across this Indian landmass, we have this specific feature called, these are the specific kind of soil which have been observed, and these are 8 in number. That is alluvial, red, black, laterite, saline or alkaline, peaty, montane or desert soils or sandy soils. Now, if I consider a soil as a physical form, this soil consists of majorly 3 components. That is, it consists of sand, it consists of silt, it consists of clay. These are the 3 constituents within this. You take black soil, you take red soil. What is the nature of this soil? Is there any difference with this nature of the soil? Yes. The color is anyway different. Apart from that, okay, the water retention capacity is different. Apart from that, the texture of the soil is also been different. The texture is also different. So these are all the natures where, yes, just give me a minute. Yeah. So the texture has been differing a lot over here. So now, yeah, the texture of the soil has been differing, whether it be with regard to black or it be with regard to red. Why? Because the amount of clay content is high across black, but the amount of sand content and the silt content is high across red. And the amount of sand content is high, and the amount of silt content is also high, and the amount of clay content is also high across alluvial soils. They're almost proportionately distributed. But when I talk about sandy soils or desertic soils, the amount of sand content is more, but the amount of silt and clay content is less, very less. So the nature of the soil is getting differed from one kind of soil to another kind of soil. Why? Why is it getting differed?
Because geography location is not uniform in all parts of the country, because we have sea areas, mountain areas nearby.
Very good. So soil is always one which has been dependent on, the first and the foremost thing is your parent material. That is, where has it gone weathered off? I mean, from which region it has been weathered off, or what is the source of rock where it has got weathered off. And apart from the parent material, the location, the latitudinal extent, and the amount of natural vegetation and the amount of humus content which is present also defines the nature of the soil. So the nature of the soil has been differing based on the climate, based on the, that is your latitudinal extents, based on the altitude, based on the parent material, based on the natural vegetations. So in this manner, the amount of nature of the kind of soil has been differing from one place to another places. Now let's understand with regard to red soil. I'll just give you a little amount of concept as to how red soils are formed, because we get to see this red soils in a larger numbers within this peninsular part of India. Whether it be in the regions of Telangana or in the regions of parts of Rayalaseema, we find good amount of red soils. And apart from that, we do observe good amount of black soils as well in the nearby regions. So initially, let's understand as to how red soils are formed. See, yeah. Any answer? Are you going to reply me? Hey, you can. I want an interactive session rather than be a monologue. Okay. Very good. Very good. Go ahead. Okay. Because of magnesium. Okay, iron oxide. Okay. Okay. So just because of ferrous content high, it is red in color. Okay. See, red soils are the one which are formed by the primary rocks which are present on the earth's surface. What are the primary rocks which are present on the earth's surface? That is your igneous. That will change into another kind of rock called metamorphic. It will change over a period of time. So this either would be igneous rock, which are nothing but the igneous rock. The best example of igneous rock which is formed on the earth's surface in the initial days is the Sialic region, which is granitic in nature. Sial, granitic in nature, which is formed because of the solidification of the molten material which is across the earth's surface, isn't it? So now, this primary rocks have undergone this process called weathering, and that weathered rock particles are seen as soil now. But fine. But what happened was, within your tropical latitudes, the amount of temperature is high, as well as the amount of moisture content is less, or the amount of period for moisture content is less, but the amount of sunny days is high. And any rock do consist of Fe, iron. But iron as an element is the one which should be along the bottommost portions of the earth's surface, or which should be at the bottommost portion of that specific layer. Why? Because iron is a denser element. Obviously, it should be at the bottom. Now, you have the rock which is present. You have rainfall, and because of the rainfall, water just percolates into the earth's surface. And after getting percolated, the amount of rainy days or the amount of rainfall across this tropical region, that too a region which is along the leeward sides or the semi-arid regions, where the amount of rainy days are very less and the amount of sunny days are very high. So now what happens? The water percolates into the surface, and the moment the water percolates into the surface, the water can be stored inside the soil. But because of high sunny days, what happens? Whatever the water which has been stored inside the earth's surface gets updrafted. I mean, మనం ఒక యాడ్ చూస్తాం, గ్లూకాన్ డి యాడ్. ఒక పిల్లోడిలో తల నుంచి పైన సూర్యుడు స్ట్రా వేసి మొత్తం లాగేస్తూ ఉంటాడు. చూసారా అది యాడ్? గ్లూకాన్ డి యాడ్ ఎప్పుడన్నా? నో? ఎస్, చూసారా? యా. సో అక్కడ ఏంటి, వాట్ ఈస్ దట్ స్పెసిఫిక్ ఫినామినన్, వాట్ ఈస్ దేర్? నో, దట్స్ అ ప్రిన్సిపల్ కాల్డ్ capillary action. Your infillus, isn't it? So in a similar manner, water got percolated into the soil, but this water which has been percolated into the soil cannot stay there for a longer period of time because of the high sunny days. Now again, the water which has been stored will be again pulled up onto the surface. But as this water is being pulled up onto the surface, along with the water molecule, the Fe elements which are present inside the earth is also getting updrafted. The Fe element is also getting updrafted. Now this Fe as an element is reacting with the oxygen which is present across your atmosphere, and now changing itself into ferrous oxide and leading to the formation of red in color or rust colored, and that's the reason why the soils across these regions are red in color.
Sir, these minerals are accumulated under the earth according to their density.
Yes, yes, my dear.
What is the like more low in the
Yes, yes. So whatever the elements which are seen in your periodic table are the ones which are observed or which have been obtained from Earth itself. Isn't it? So all your elements are present inside the Earth. And that's how your periodic table has been defined as well. And apart from that, yeah, even the distribution, the lighter the density, greater the elevation. It's above the surface, very much close to the surface. If they're heavier in density, in the greater depths. No, it's there everywhere. Okay. So now that's the reason why we talk about the interior part of the Earth as we move further. Wherein in that interior part of the Earth, we talk about core, calling it as knife region, Ni and Fe, wherein man has assumed that, yes, the inner core, which is solid in nature, which is consisting of nickel and ferrous, and among your entire periodic table, these are the two elements which are highly denser. And did ever man been to that regions of core? At a greater depths of 6,000 meters or 6,000 kilometers deep inside the Earth? No. But it has been assumed because whatever the elements which are present on the Earth's surface is there in your periodic table. Among the entire periodic table, yes, nickel and ferrous are denser. And we have assumed that, yes, Earth is giving anyway. And these are the elements which are present inside the Earth. And assuming that, yes, nickel and ferrous being the denser one, we assume that, yes, inner core is also made up of nickel and ferrous, and I'll give you that specific explanation as to how they are formed over there and why they have been placed over there later in our sessions. But yes, this iron as element getting updrafted, reacting with oxygen to form ferrous oxide, and that's how you got to see this soils called red soils. And black soil. How do I talk about black soil? Black soils are the one which are formed. Black soils are the one which are formed because of this ferrous as well as titanium. Ferrous, titanium and magnesium as an elements which are abundant. Because of this titaniferous elements, as titanium as an element, this color of the soil has changed into black. And what is the primary rock which has formed, which has led to this formation of black soil? Again the same, igneous, but within your igneous you have another kind of rock called basalt. Have you ever seen basalt? Have you ever seen basalt? We use it on a regular basis, on a daily basis in your kitchen. No. No, my dear. Yes, very good. That's good. Your mortar and pestle, where your black colored mortar and a pestle, where you try to chop and paste ground your ginger, garlics and all other masalas. So, or your black stones which have been laid for your flooring, which are nothing but your basalt rocks. And these are your basalt rocks. And these are finely grained rock particles which are present. And this basalt is a very good example, and from this basalt you get to see this thing called black soil. Basalt undergoes a process called weathering and you get black colored soil. And this black colored soil consists of, apart from ferrous, it do consist of a good amount of titanium. And because of that specific element called titanium, yes, the soil is black in color. Okay? Now moving further, talk about laterite. I'm not going to give you any facts as of now, because I'll anyway move further in the sessions, in the regular sessions, I'll try to give you that entire facts. But let's just generally understand as to what is soils. Now laterite, what are laterite?
Nutrient content of the soil reduces.
Come again?
Nutrient content of the soil reduces due to some external resources. Say,
I can use the answer? Very good. Yeah. What you said was true. That's a specific word which is supposed to be added rather than that entire whole sentences and whole sentence. That's a proper word which is to be added. Laterite soils are the one which are seen across higher altitudes within the tropical latitudes. I repeat, these are the soils which are seen across higher altitudes within the tropical latitudes where you have high sun's insolation and high rainfall. High sun's insolation and high rainfall. And across that,
High rainfall and high.
sun's insolation or vertical sun's insolation. Insolation, incoming solar radiation. Okay? So wherever you have high amount of sun rays or high sun's insolation and high rainfall within the high altitudes and high latitudes, or that is within your tropical latitudes, you get to see laterite soils because of the continuous rainfall and the sun's insolation. Then whatever your nutrient content or whatever is present will be leached off along the slope of your hills and mountains. And because of this leaching, you get to see the soils called laterite soils, which are considered to be as one of the strongest soils. Let's understand now. We get to see this rainfall where you have good amount of muddy regions whenever there is a rainfall close along your roadsides, wherever you find. You get to see ditches, muddy ditches. And if you have a muddy ditch for about next 2 to 3 days, can I see good amount of insects or some other things which are getting settling and taking good amount of living conditions across that regions? They'll try to take a rest over there. It will try to reproduce over there. It will take it home-like structure because there's stagnant water. Now, you being in a tropical latitudes, what happens is the amount of sun's insolation or the amount of sunny days is also high. Now you have water, but across this water body, now this insects and all try to lay their eggs. And what do? They'll just enter into this muddy swamps or muddy soils and try to make a small burrowing features and go there and make some nest-like feature, try to lay their eggs. But because of the high sun concentration, what happens? The entire water suddenly gets evaporated. And now the insect which is present inside that muddy swampy soils will be there itself, which could not either come out or go down because that region has been dried off immediately. Now, if you hold that rock part, the muddy, hardened, muddy particle region, is it hard or is it loose, which can easily be broken down? Even though it is hard, it has got good amount of spaces inside because these insects have penetrated in and has laid good amount of eggs. The uppermost layer of the soil region is hard, but the interior part is hollow because there is good amount of laying of their eggs. And now it cannot be utilized to make good amount of things with this specific kind of soil because the soil is also been with good amount of organic material and organic debris, dead organic material or organic debris. Let's say now the soil is free from all this organic debris. మట్టిలో ఆకులు, ఎండిపోయిన ఆకులు, పురుగులు ఇలాంటి ఏమీ లేవు, మొత్తం జారిపి కిందకి వెళ్ళిపోయింది. Only the soil is there now. Now what happens? If you can dry the soil which is free from this organic debris, now what happens? It will become hard and the longevity of it will be more. So now these are the soils which are considered to be as laterite soils, which have undergone a process called leaching, and wherein these are the soils which have been utilized for making your bricks, tiles, pottery. Why? If you want to make a brick, it should be hard. If you want to make it hard, what do you require? It should not have any other organic debris where it can get decomposed or decayed. If you have something, a leaf or something, will that rock or will that brick be hard? No. So for that, you take the specific kind of soils where the soils should undergo this process called leaching. Where do you see this leached soils? Only across higher altitudes where high rainfall and high sun's insolation or high temperatures. within your tropical latitudes. And that's where you get to see this laterite soils. Clear? And then let's talk about saline or alkaline soils. Where do you find the saline and alkaline soils? Saline soils and alkaline soils are the one which are seen across your Indian landmass, all the way from your northern part of India to southern part of India. And there are small pockets. There are small pockets. Why? India being a tropical country and India receiving rainfall only for about 3 to 4 months in a year, the amount of rainy days are less and the amount of sunny days are more. And apart from that, there is a small lake or a small pond across the regions of Indian landmass, or you have a small stream. Now water gets evaporated, but what happens, just by water getting evaporated, the adjacent regions will be having this salinity which is getting increased. Or apart from that, let's take a very practical example. You have a canal over here. This is a canal. You have a field over here now, a paddy field, or any other field, forget about it, but you have good amount of water within the canal. And now, can I see the percolation of this water molecules into this specific piece of land? Yes. And if there is excess flow of water in the canal, can I see large amount of groundwater which has been present in the soil, which is very much close to the surface? Now, because of the sunny day, now what happens to the water molecules which are close to the surface now across this field area? Gets evaporated. If that is getting evaporated, what are the nutrients which are supposed to be placed deeply inside the soil are not deep inside the soil. They're getting upgrafted and are settling along the topmost surface of the soil. And now, these are soils where your salt content and the nutrient content and the mineral constituents which are getting updrafted and settling on the surface. Generally, which is a most fertile soil? A soil which has got good amount of nutrients, where the nutrients should be deeply inside the soil, where the roots penetrate and takes those nutrients. That's the minimum thing, basic thing. But what has happened over here, under the influence of this capillary reaction, the nutrients have got onto the surface and have got settled over here. And now these soils are not fit for agriculture or cultivation activities. And now that is the alkalinity or the salinity of the soils, that is the salt content or the pH value of the soil has been increased, and that is considered to be a saline or alkaline soils. And in India, the irrigational activity across India is very high. Most of your cropping pattern is influenced by irrigation. So this irrigation activity has led to, excessive irrigation has led to presence of good amount of saline and alkaline soils all across your Indian landmass. So what is the method so that you can conserve this formation of saline and alkaline soils across these regions? Yeah, that's fine, very good. That's fine. Apart from that, you need to bund this canal so that water will not be percolating into the adjacent fields. Isn't it? Yes, that's a remedy thing once it has been occurred. But you are supposed to make sure that it should not occur. So for that not to occur, you need to bund these canals so that the percolation gets reduced. And that's where India is a country where you find a very good amount of saline and alkaline soils, and that's a major problem for your agricultural activities. And that's the reason why most of the farmers use this gypsum, so that the infertile soils or unfertile soils will be making sure that they are backing into fertility, or where they can utilize them for farming. Yes? Are you with me? Okay. So now, peaty and marshy soils. What are peaty and marshy soils? Okay. peaty and marshy soils are the one which are seen along the continental margins, where you have good amount of mangrove vegetation, and across your coastal belts or across close to the regions of mouths of a river, you get to see the specific kind of soils called peaty or marshy soils, where they are damp enough. That's called marshy. We find this peaty and marshy soils along the mouths of a river or close to the regions of mangrove vegetation. Yes, so this is where you get to see peaty and marshy soils, which, yes, it do consist of good amount of organic content in those soils, where the amount of organic debris or the organic content is very, very high. Now moving further, mountain and desert soils. Where do you have mountain soils? These are the soils which are seen within India only across your northern part of India, along your southern slopes of Himalayas. Within your southern slopes of Himalayas, until a specific elevations, you get to see this montane soils. They're not mountain soils, they're montane soils, which are formed because of the glacial movement or the glacial weathering, and apart from that, they have also formed because of this weathering of this specific kind of natural vegetation which is present along the hill slopes of the specific mountains of Himalayas. And in India, the majority of your montane soils are the one which are seen along the states like in the present day Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir, few parts of Ladakh, parts of not even Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, parts of Himachal Pradesh, parts of Uttarakhand, good parts of Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh. We find this montane soils which are formed along the hill slopes of mountain slopes of Himalayas, but these are not majorly seen across the hills and mountains within your peninsular part of India. But within your peninsular part of India, you get to see good amount of laterite soils along the slopes. Next, anyway, the desert soils or sandy soils. The deserts and sandy soils are the one which are seen along your western margins of your Aravalis along the state of Rajasthan. Yes? So this is a broader overview of this kind of soils which are present in your Indian landmass. And now for our exam conditions, we are supposed to know what is the percentage of this soil nature which is present, as to what is the amount of soil which has been distributed across each and every region, and apart from that, what are the major states where the specific soils are present. Let's take an example like alluvial soil. Where do you find good amount of alluvial soil? Yeah, the entire northern plains have been filled by, Gangetic plains, or your northern plains are the one which are filled by alluvial soils. Apart from that, that's fine, but apart from that northern plains, wherever you find these rivers which are flowing, whether it be your perennial rivers or it be a seasonal rivers, across your India, you find good amount of alluvial soils all across your river paths or your river banks. We find alluvial soils. So larger proportion of your alluvial soils are the one which are seen along the states like Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Bihar, West Bengal, Assam. These are the states where your larger proportion of your region has been covered by alluvial soil. And apart from that, yes, wherever you find a river, along the river paths, you find good amount of alluvial soils. And as I told you initially, these are the soils which are formed because of your weathering and erosional activity of a river. That's all. Wherein you have this alluvial soils which have been classified based on their age as Khadar and Bangar. And then you have this red soils. Where do you find this red soils in abundance? Come on, sir. I asked you red soils. Did I say that no rainfall is the region where you have red soils?
Yes.
So less rainfall is different from no rainfall. Okay? actually ask my students to get a class along with these classes. But tomorrow, once you start with the class, in my classroom sessions, the tools are atlas, a classroom notes, pens of different colors, pencil, eraser, sharpeners, something similar to your school, and apart from that, highlighters and movie knowledge. These are your tools for your geography classroom. Do you watch movies? Sir, ఏంటి సార్ అలా చూస్తున్నారు? Do you watch movies అంటే కొత్తగా అడుగుతున్నా సార్ క్వశ్చన్ అంటారా? Do you watch movies? Yes. Not regular, but at least you watch movies, right? So because we cannot go across the entire world to look into different geographical conditions. We have a lucky chance where your hero heroine go for their duets into different parts of the world, so that we can try to understand the kind of topographies by them, isn't it? So movie knowledge is also very important, but getting an atlas, get an atlas called Oxford Student Atlas, which is very important for your classroom sessions. And empty maps. The moment I enter into Indian geography, I want you to get empty maps of both physical and political, 10 of your maps, empty maps, so that within the classroom you will be having that practice session, because you cannot remember each and every river, each and every physiographical feature by mugging up. If you can have it on pictorially on the maps, if you can draw them, you can remember more. Let's say now if I get into a chapter called drainage system, we'll be discussing somewhere around 7 to 80 rivers within India, well, including the tributaries. Because these facts are very important for our exam, especially for your preliminary part of your group 1 or group 2. For that, a better thing is, rather than mugging up, we can put it pictorially and practice them. So getting maps is very important, having atlas is important, and you have a very good amount of work with regard to atlas. I'll make sure that your half of your geography will be learned by atlas. Okay? So Oxford Oxford Student Atlas is a must. If you are in a position to buy another atlas also, no problem. You can also buy Oxford School Atlas also. There are two things from Oxford: Oxford School and Oxford Student. Most preferable thing is student, and if you can buy Student Atlas as well. Okay. These are the regions where you have fine good amount of black soils, but the rest of the regions, you find good amount of red soils all across these regions. You find good amount of red soils across these regions. అంటే ఇప్పుడు మా ఒక్క నిమిషం ఏమి ఇదేం గీయద్దు ఇప్పుడు present just leave it. I'll anyway discuss in detail later. But what we are supposed to understand is red soils గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి అంటే for to remember we need to understand where do we find good amount of lava depositions across India. The lava deposits are the one which are seen only across two different regions majorly. There is one across Malwa regions, which is to the northern parts of Vindhyas, across the parts of these regions. to the northern parts of Vindhyas, where you find Malwa regions, and to the southern parts of Satpuras across your Deccan. There is good parts of Maharashtra, few parts of Telangana, and good northern parts of Karnataka. We find lava depositions where you have lava flow. And across that margins and across that regions where we find good amount of lava flow, which is that basaltic rock, we find black soil. But the rest of the regions do have good amount of red soils. Whether it be the state of Kerala, state of Tamil Nadu, the state of Andhra Pradesh, state of western parts of Karnataka, western parts of Maharashtra, and few eastern parts of Maharashtra, and good parts of Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand has got large volumes of red soils. And even to the northern parts of Vindhyas, that is in the northern parts of Uttar Pradesh, where you find this Bundelkhand plateau, even across the regions we find good amount of red soils. And apart from that, this northeastern India has also been considered to be the part of your peninsular India, where it has got separated later during this convergence of Indian plate with Eurasian plate. And even this regions of Shillong plateau or Meghalaya plateau do have good amount of red soils. But that red soils which are present across your Meghalaya, they are not red in color as of today, because of heavy amount of rainfall which is seen across the regions of Meghalaya plateau, wherein we have a place called advance updation, please, Mawsynram, which is considered to be as, what is the importance of Mawsynram? Mawsynram is the second highest rainfall region of the world and is the world's wettest place, which is across these regions of Meghalaya. And which is the highest rainfall region of the world? Which is your Hawaiian Island regions. The Hawaii is considered to be as the highest rainfall region of the world, and Mawsynram is considered to be as the second highest rainfall region of the world. But Mawsynram is considered to be as the world's wettest place. And this is regions across this part. And this red colored soil, even in our day-to-day life, if you try to bring a truck of red soil, pour some good amount of water on that soil on a regular basis, as you dig it later after 10-15 days, you find yellow colored tinge within that red colored soil. Why? Because of the moisture content which is very high within the soil, which was earlier a red one, but later because of your large amount of moisture content, it has turned itself into yellow. And that's the reason why you understand this regions having red and yellow soils in abundance. Okay? So in this manner, you have this red soils over here, and wherever we find a good amount of river paths, you have good amount of alluvial soils. Wherever we find good amount of lava deposits, we find black soils. Wherever we find higher altitudes and lower latitudes or higher altitudes within the tropical latitudes, whichever regions have got high rainfall and high temperatures, you find laterite soils. And the regions which has got high irrigation or intensive irrigation methodology has been followed without proper conservation methods, you get to have this thing called saline and alkaline soils. Or you talk about specifically with regard to Rayalaseema region. In the regions of Rayalaseema region, you talk about this soils in abundance. Why? The regions of Rayalaseema has got less rainfall and high sunny days. You have ponds or you have small tanks, but they get evaporated, and the nearby fields or the nearby regions will be becoming infertile. The reason is they are changing the soil nature, wherein the pH value of the soil, because of the excessive amount of evaporation rather than the inflow. The amount of inflow is less and the amount of evaporation is high. You get this alkaline and saline soils. And along the regions of PT and marshy, these are the ones which are seen mostly along your continental margins, close to your coastline, or along your river mouths. You find PT or marshy soils. And we know about mountain soils which are seen along this pattern. this part, few of this part, and across this part. We find montane soils. And lastly, desert soils across this region. Desert or sandy soils across this region. So this is how we understand this soils. Is it done? Got a basic idea of soils? Okay, how many of you have read this topic, soils? Good? When? Very good. That's good, appreciable, because I want every student to read and come to the class, so that it will be much more interactive. You will learn a lot, because you will get good amount of doubts, right? You will get good amount of subject. If you are mum, I am not going to teach. If you are montane or forest soils, the same, one and the same. Until the altitudes of 3,500 meters, you have good amount of vegetation within your mountains of Himalayas. Until the altitudes of 3,500 meters. And obviously you should have good amount of forest. And these are the soils which are formed either because of your glacial erosion or because of natural erosion. That's what the statement which I told you as well. The moment I am telling you about montane soil, I said it is because of both glacial as well as forest or natural vegetation. And apart from within this mountain, you have one more kind of soils called Kareva soils, which are purely formed because of glacial erosion. Okay? Yeah. Any more doubts? I'm not going to discuss any facts or numbers now. I just gave you an overview of the soils of India now. Yeah. When did you read, my dear? Yeah. Long back. Okay, fine. From NCERTs. Yeah, good. What about you? Yesterday, that's good. What about you both? You don't remember? Okay. Not right, very good. Okay, fine. I'll just ask you another topic or another question. What is the source of water in a river, and where do water get stored in the earth's surface? There are two questions, not one question, there are two questions. One question is, what is the source of water into a river, and where do you see this water getting stored inside the earth's surface? Coming in?
Water comes from glaciers.
Okay, water comes from glaciers and the melting of ice. Okay, rainfall. Any more?
Sir, multiple small river paths emerging from forests.
Why do they emerge out?
Because forests had more moisture content.
So?
It won't dry off easily.
So
the flow will be.
Think properly. See, I mean, let's discuss about Godavari river. River Godavari is originating from the regions of, from where? That's Krishna, my dear. Close to the regions of Triambakeshwar, near Nashik. That's the source of your origin of your Godavari. And do we have glaciers or ice-capped regions where they are melting? No. And do we have rainfall throughout the year? No. But
There was very small, many tributaries.
no, fine. Where is that tributaries getting water from? Fine, ma. But do we have rainfall throughout the year across the regions where the tributaries are getting originated or river is getting originated? Then what is the source of water to that river? Yeah, that's what I'm talking. Rainfall, you do not have the rainfall throughout the year. You have rainfall only 4 months in a year, right? But do we see river water flowing in Godavari almost throughout the year? Yes. What is the source? At least not large volume of water, at least a minimal amount of water is flowing in river Godavari. Huh? Okay.
Groundwater.
Good, go ahead.
They are
where there's a lot of water stored down there.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming.
Why do they come up?
Due to the
Evaporation.
Oh my God. Sir, can we have water over here now?
water content is low.
Something like a hot spring.
Delete that word called hot. You have a word called spring. Springs. A region of aquifers within the hilly regions where under the influence of gravitational forces and the pressures which have been applied over there, the water ejects out of the earth's surface within the mountain slopes automatically, which are calling it as a spring. And the springs are the primary source, springs are the primary source of any river, whether it be a Himalayan perennial river or it be a peninsular river. Whatever the river it be, first and the foremost source of water into a river is spring, and then to that water which is coming from a spring, you have melting of ice glaciated regions and rainfall which are adding up into the river paths. So first and the foremost thing, your answer should be spring, and then the other sources.
What causes springs?
I just stated you in a form of statement. If you want me to draw the diagram, I'll draw it and I'll show you. You have a hill over here. Let's suppose you have an impermeable rock. And again you have an impermeable rock over here. You have two impermeable rock stratas, and these are your permeable rock stratas. What is permeability? Yeah, ability to allow. So now, the water can percolate because of the rainfall, water can percolate and get stored over here within this hilltop region. But under the influence of gravitational force and because of the slope, water tends to move down, but this impermeable rock is obstructing. So now what happens? It tries to make a small opening over there automatically and ejects out this water. And again, the water settling over here, again it makes a small opening and ejects out of this earth's surface. Why? Under the influence of gravitational pull, where normally under the gravitational pull they should move down the slope, but they have been obstructed by impermeable rock stratas, and the pressure has been inbuilt over here, and under the influence of greater amount of pressure it breaks or it opens up the surface of the earth, and now calling it as a spring. And now the water is getting stored inside it, and this water will be supplied on a regular basis into the path of the river. So these are your sources, initial and the primary source of a river. Clear? Got the point? And now, do we have water inside the earth where we are sitting now? Yes. Where is it stored? At which depths are they stored? Okay, where is that permeable part? Very good. Where is that permeable part? And what is the depth of that permeable part?
Below 100 feet.
Below?
Depends on what kind of soil.
See, the interior part of the earth consists of crust, mantle and the core. It's funda, you know about it. Crust, mantle and the core. You know, where is this water getting stored? So now, if I talk about crust. So initially when we talk about soils of India, crust is the one which has been made up of Sial and Sima. Sial is nothing but granitic in nature. Sima is basaltic in nature. That's what we have learned. That's what we are aware of. And if it is granitic in nature, granite rock, we use it on the kitchen slabs and all, or your flooring and all. Is it permeable? Then where is this water then stored then? Sial is the topmost layer, and that too, that is granitic in nature. And where is this water stored now? above your CL, there is good amount of weathered rock particles on the surface of the earth, which is for about 1 to 3 kilometers. And that's called ground surface rocks or weathered rock particles, which is nothing but soil. So the water percolates only until that permeable region, which is calling it as soil. Below that you have a hard rock which is called CL, granitic in nature, where water is not allowed inside it. So whatever you quench water, and that water is only from that depths of 1 to 3 kilometers only, which has got that weathered rock particles, calling it as soil, and wherein you pull out that water. And that region where this water is getting stored is calling it as aquifer, which is calling it as aquifer. So we listen from your news channel or newspaper saying that groundwater across Hyderabad get decreased or decreased or something, or improved, the groundwater has got improvised. So we get to hear about it. What is that? Or the water table. So that's only within your ground surface rocks, which is soils which have undergone good amount of weathering, and that weathered rock particles can hold water.
Sir, how the temperature changes with the temperature of water?
Sir, mali వేరే టాపిక్ లోకి వెళ్ళారు.
The hot springs
అదే సార్ మీరు వేరే టాపిక్ లోకి వెళ్ళారు, నేను ఇది అవ్వనియండి ఇంకా. Is that clear until now? So water is stored in the weathered rock particulate matter regions, which is nothing but soils or ground surface rocks, which is extended for about 1 to 3 kilometers only. Done. So now that's all for now. You can ask me any questions. Okay. Yeah. Sir, ఇప్పుడు అడగండి, ఇప్పుడు మీ క్వశ్చన్ ఇంకా మీ క్వశ్చన్ అడగండి ఇప్పుడు.
Sir, water is normally temperature based to, if you go down the earth, is there any temperature variation?
Yes, as you go inside the earth, for every
Temperature variation inside it increases, but in water basis also.
whatever you told about hot springs are the one whenever the ground surface rocks where your permeable region is much closer to a magma chamber or molten material, where volcanic material which is erupting, and if that is close to that magma chamber, the water which is close to that will be in a boiling state and water ejects out. Why? Automatically water ejects out from the surface even the surface is flat. Why? One principle says that the moment your water molecules or any gaseous molecules or any liquid molecules, if they've been heated up, they will expand. So the moment they expand, what happens? They try to eject out. Because this amount of space it is occupying is increased, it wants to increase its space. So it ejects out and comes out of the earth's surface, and that's called a hot spring. So any aquifer region which is close to a magma chamber leads to the presence of hot springs and geysers. Okay? Yeah. Come in? Yeah, it might be a volcano, or you might have just a magma chamber where there is no volcanic eruptions. See, in India, we have almost 15 hot spring regions. 15 to 20 hot spring regions. But did we ever discuss about volcanic eruptions in your mainland of India? No. But along the mountain regions of Himalayas, where your convergence has happened and mountains have got uplifted, for sure you have magma chambers close to that. But that magma material could not erupt out under the influence of this thick amount of soils and thick amount of rock stratus, because of which we have good amount of magma chamber, and that magma chamber is just there, but it is able to heat the entire nearby regions or aquifer regions, leading to the presence of hot springs. No, that will be almost the same. That will be much more the same, but they are normal, not cool nor warm, they are normal. That's only just for about 1 to 3 kilometers only. But if at all, if that is close to a magma chamber, yes, as you said, that will be heated up. ఇండియాలో మనకి మన ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లో, how many of you from Andhra? Anyone from Andhra? Okay. Have you ever heard this temple called Panakala Swami temple near Mangalgiri? And it has been observed that is considered to be as a dormant volcano. Ever heard of it? No? Yeah. అక్కడ పానకం వెళ్ళి పోస్తూ ఉంటారు కదా, అందుకనే పానకాల స్వామి టెంపుల్ అయిపోయింది. అది ఎందుకు పానకం పోసారంటే, ఇన్ ద పాస్ట్ అది కింద లోపల వేడి ఉందని తెలుసు, అది చల్లబరచడానికి పానకం పోసి చల్లబడుద్దని మన ఆలోచన, మనిషి యొక్క ఉద్దేశం. అందుకని పానకం పోయండి అని చెప్పారు. కానీ మనకు అది రెగ్యులర్గా పానకం పోయండి అంటే మనం పోయాం కదా, అదే దేవుడి పేరు చెప్తే పోస్తాం కాబట్టి that became into a Panakala Swami temple, and it has been geologically proven that yes, underneath that Mangalgiri hill you have a magma chamber which is not able to erupt out. It's stored over there, stored as a magma chamber. For sure there is a magma material which could not erupt out, and that's a sleeping volcano. So ఇప్పుడు ఆ స్లీపింగ్ వాల్కనీని మన ప్రయత్నంగా మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నామంటే పానకం పోస్తూ ఉంటే చల్లబడుద్దని మనం చేస్తున్నాం. And that's how this temple, Panakala Swami temple, has got there. So if you talk about your Manikaran, Rishikesh, you have numerous amount of holy places where you have this hot springs. Go to the regions of hot springs, dip in that regions of hot springs, you will be cleansed from your diseases. Or the God will cleanse you. That's how we believe in. But originally, the hot springs has got that specific mineral constituents, elemental compositions, which can clear your entire skin diseases and all. ఎందుకంటే there is good amount of sulfur and other elements which are ejecting out from your hot springs, and that will help you in your cleansing your body. ఇప్పుడు మనం మంచిగా చెప్తే వినరు కదా, మనం అదే దేవుడు ఉన్నాడంటే మనం వింటాం. ఎవ్రీథింగ్ వాట్ సైన్స్. ఇప్పుడు మన ఇంటి ముందు ముగ్గు వేసుకుంటాము, లేకపోతే పసుపు పూసుకుంటాము, పసుపు వేస్తాం గడపకి. ఎందుకు పసుపు ఏంటారు అంటే, ఎందుకంటాము, ఇండియా బీయింగ్ ఎ ట్రాపికల్ కంట్రీ వేర్ యూ హ్యావ్ గుడ్ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ రెయిన్ ఫాల్స్, and the prevalence of virus and bacteria is also very quick. మరి ఇప్పుడు బయట నుంచి వస్తా ఆ ముగ్గును తొక్కుకుంటూ వస్తే మనకు చెప్పులుకున్న బ్యాక్టీరియా చచ్చిపోద్ది, ఎందుకంటే దట్స్ ఆల్ కాల్షియం కార్బోనేట్. కానీ ఇప్పుడు ఏమైంది, మన స్టైల్కి పెయింట్లు అయిపోయినాయి, గడపకి ఎల్లో పెయింట్ అయిపోయింది. ఒరిజినల్గా మనకేముండాలి, టర్మరిక్ అండ్ కాల్షియం కార్బోనేట్. సో ఇది మనం చేంజ్ చేసుకున్నాం. బట్ ఒరిజినల్లీ అవర్ ఫోర్ ఫాదర్స్ హెస్ గాట్ ద నాలెడ్జ్ ఆఫ్ సైంటిఫిక్ నాలెడ్జ్. కానీ అది బాబు మన ముందే వాళ్ళు పసిగట్టారు, ఇలా చెప్తే వినర్రా అని చెప్పి దేవుడి పేరు చెప్పి చెప్పారు మనకి. కానీ మనం దాన్ని ఇంకా మార్చుకొని మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం, ఇంకా స్టైల్గా ముగ్గులు రకరకాల డిజైన్లే చేసాం మనం ఇప్పుడు. సో అంటే ఎవ్రీ రీజనింగ్ ఈజ్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. సో మీరు సబ్జెక్ట్ నేర్చుకునేటప్పుడు రీజనింగ్ ఈజ్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. వై? But for your group 2, ప్రతిదానికి వై అక్కర్లేదు. But for your group 1, for your writing answers, yes, we are here to help you that why of it. నీకు వై అనేది ఒకటి తెలిస్తే మాత్రం నీకు ఎక్కడ ఎలాంటి సబ్జెక్ట్ కూడా ఈజీగా రాయడానికి స్కోప్ ఉంటుంది. అండ్ ప్లీజ్ డూ రిమెంబర్, ఆల్ యువర్ group 1 aspirants, you are going to compete with UPSC aspirants. How many of you here for UPSC as well? UPSC aspirants are unnara? Yeah. So done with your coaching, my dear? Yeah. So you are competing with UPSC aspirants, and the kind of competition is also high. So please do keep it in mind. And yes, I'll make sure that you are revising and doing your work regularly, but you should also cooperate with the program. అంతేగాని నేను చేయలేదు, నాకు చేయలేకపోతున్నా అంటే కష్టం. ఎందుకంటే అది మాత్రం గ్రూప్ 2 అంటారా, ఓకే ఫైన్, దట్స్ అ డిఫరెంట్ థింగ్. But group 1 mains వచ్చేటప్పటికి, if you take a history of the last 10 years, most of the students who have appeared for mains, group 1 mains, are the people who have appeared for civil services. బయట మార్కెట్లో there is a myth, గ్రూప్ 1 అంటే క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ ఇచ్చేసి బట్టి కొడితే అయిపోద్ది అని. ఎస్, 50% సరిపోతుంది, బట్ మిగతా 50% నీ దగ్గర సరుకు ఉండాలి. ఎందుకు, కాంపిటీషన్ బాగుంది కాబట్టి యూ షుడ్ హ్యావ్ యువర్ ఓన్ యూఎస్పీ. So our USP is important. I'll give you a few questions, I'll give you few answers, but that's not also enough. Which is enough is your conceptual clarity about the subject is very important, whatever the subject it be. So get those clarities.
Difference between Indian geography, Telangana geography.
Very good. Difference between Indian geography, Telangana geography. Sir, నేను ఇండియన్ జాగ్రఫీకి తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీ లాస్ట్ క్లాస్లో బేసిక్ ఫ్రేమ్వర్క్ చెప్పాను ఒకటి. ఇట్స్ వన్ అండ్ ద సేమ్ ఫర్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. బట్ ద ఓన్లీ థింగ్ ఇస్ తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీలో మనకి ఫ్యాక్ట్స్ కొద్దిగా ఇంపార్టెంట్ తెచ్చుకుంటాము ఫర్ యువర్ ప్రిలిమ్స్. బట్ ఫర్ యువర్ మెయిన్స్, ఎస్, ఐ విల్ గివ్ యూ ద కంప్లీట్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. మీరు చేయాల్సింది ఏంటంటే యాజ్ అ స్టూడెంట్, ఇఫ్ యూఆర్ సిట్టింగ్ ఇన్ ద క్లాస్ రూమ్, read the syllabus and then come to the classroom. ఏంటి తెలంగాణ geography, if you're sitting for Telangana geography, I want you to read the word by word of your syllabus in your Telangana geography means. And here I'll be completing every word of your mains topic. There's no much difference. Geography అనేది geographyని. కానీ మనకి geographyలో మనం ఏం మాట్లాడుకున్నామంటే మొన్న ఫిజికల్ పార్ట్, తర్వాత హ్యూమన్ పార్ట్. సో హ్యూమన్ పార్ట్ ఇస్ బీన్ డివైడెడ్ ఇంటూ ఎకనామిక్ యాజ్ వెల్ as సోషల్. సో తెలంగాణ ఎకనామిక్ జాగ్రఫీ ఉంది, తెలంగాణ సోషల్ జాగ్రఫీ ఉంటుంది. సో అలాగే తెలంగాణ ఫిజికల్ జాగ్రఫీ ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, సో దట్స్ వన్ అండ్ ద సేమ్. బట్ మనకున్న బ్యాడ్ థింగ్ ఒకటి ఏంటంటే తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీకి పచ్చి చెప్పాలంటే పులిహార చేసి పెట్టాడు. మొత్తం ఇలా కలిపేసేసి వాడికి అర్థం కాదు తయారు చేసినట్టు. అలా ఉంది తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీ సిలబస్. It is almost equivalent to your little part of your GS, I mean geography optional ఎంత సిలబస్ ఎంత కావాలో అంత తీసుకొచ్చి డౌన్ చేసాడు. కాకపోతే తెలంగాణ స్పెసిఫిక్. ఇప్పుడు ఏపీ జాగ్రఫీనా సింపుల్గా ఇచ్చాడు, చాలా 4 లైన్లో నీట్ సింపుల్గా ఇచ్చాడు. క్వశ్చన్లు కూడా అలాగే వస్తున్నాయి. తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీ క్వశ్చన్లు ఏం ఇస్తాడో తెలీదు, ప్లస్ సిలబస్ ఏమో చాలా లెంగ్తీ సిలబస్ ఇచ్చాడు. మార్క్స్ ఏమో 30 మార్కులు. తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీ 30 మార్కులు, ఇండియన్ జాగ్రఫీ 20 మార్కులు. చూసారా సిలబస్లో 2 టాపిక్స్ ఏమో ఇండియన్ జాగ్రఫీ, 3 టాపిక్స్ ఏమో తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీ ఉంటుంది. ఉందమ్మా సిలబస్? యా. సో ఇట్స్ అ వెరీ కాంప్లికేటెడ్ సిలబస్ తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీ. ఇంకా తెలంగాణ హిస్టరీ అయినా ప్రాపర్గా ప్లాన్ చేసి ఇచ్చాడు సిలబస్లో. బట్ తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీ అలా లేదు. ఐ విల్ గివ్ యూ దట్ కంప్లీట్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. మీరు చేయాల్సిన ఒకటి ఏంటంటే సిలబస్ కంప్లీట్ చదివి రండి క్లాస్కి. మీరు సిలబస్ కరెక్ట్ చదివితే మాత్రం మీకు కూడా ఒకటి ఏంటంటే ఫ్యాకల్టీకి స్టూడెంట్కి మంచి అప్రిసియేషన్ ఉండాలి. మీరు చదువుతా ఉండండి, నేను కూడా ఎక్కువ చెప్తాను. మీరు చదవట్లేదు అనుకో, నేను కూడా కంప్లీట్ చేస్తాను అంట. నాకు చెడ్డ బుద్ధి ఉండదు, ఏమనుకోబాకండి. సార్ ఐఎమ్ పేయింగ్ నో అంటే కాదు. పేయింగ్తో పాటు పేయింగ్ ఈజ్ నాట్ అ పాయింట్, బట్ యువర్ ఎఫర్ట్ ఈస్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఇక్కడ. ఓకే, సో దట్స్ ఆల్. Any more doubts?
So syllabus, are they going to update it? Or
Yeah, 30% of your Telangana syllabus will be updated. There's a greater chance of 30% of your syllabus is getting overhauled. Andhra కూడా జరుగుతుంది. అమ్మా ఇప్పుడు నిన్న న్యూస్ పేపర్, ఈరోజు న్యూస్ పేపర్లో ఎక్కడో ఒక 10 రోజుల్లో గ్రూప్ 1 నోటిఫికేషన్ అన్నాడు. అది ఫేకా బేకా మనకు తెలీదు. బట్ ఇంకో 10 రోజులు అన్నాడు. ప్రస్తుతానికి ఏదో పోస్టులు ఇచ్చాడు మనకి. ఆ పోస్టులు చూద్దాం మరి. అమ్మా ఒక్కసారి గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, నోటిఫికేషన్ వచ్చింది అంటే నోటిఫికేషన్కి ఎగ్జామ్కి మినిమం 45 days అయితే ఇవ్వాల్సిందే. ఐ మీన్ అప్లికేషన్ నుంచి ఎగ్జామ్ తర్వాత 2 months టైం ఇస్తాడు. 45 days 60 days టైం ఇస్తాడు. సో ఒకసారి నోటిఫికేషన్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత మినిమం 45 to 60 days టైం ఉంటుంది. దానికి పెద్ద బాధపడద్దు. చేంజ్ చేసే ఛాన్సెస్ ఉన్నాయమ్మా కొద్దిగా. ఒక 30 ఇన్సైడ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఏంటంటే ఏపీలో సిలబస్ అయితే చేంజ్ అయింది, కొంత తెలంగాణలో కూడా చేంజ్ అవుతుంది. ఒక 30% అయితే మినిమం అన్నారు. సో ఏదేది చేంజ్ అవుతుందో తెలియదు. బట్ జాగ్రఫీ అంటే ఏదైనా ఒకటే కదా, ఇంకా సిలబస్ అయితే ఇదే కదా జాగ్రఫీ, అదైతే మనం ఇచ్చేస్తాం. కాబట్టి దాన్ని ఎక్కడెక్కడ ఎక్కువ స్ట్రెస్ చేయాలో మన సిలబస్ వచ్చిందో అప్పుడు స్ట్రెస్ చేసి మారుస్తాం మనం కొద్దిగా. బేసిక్స్ అయితే ఒకటే కదా. నాకు ఇక్కడ బేసిక్స్లో ఏంటంటే ఫస్ట్ అండ్ ఫార్మోస్ట్ థింగ్, మండే నుంచి క్లాసెస్ అనుకున్నాం జాగ్రఫీ క్లాసెస్. అండ్ ఐ వాంట్ యూ టు స్టార్ట్ విత్ NCERT 6th and 7th because I'm going to start with geomorphology, world geography. First of all 15 hours నేను బేసిక్స్ ఆఫ్ వరల్డ్ జాగ్రఫీ ఇస్తాను. ఒకసారి మీకు వరల్డ్ జాగ్రఫీ ప్రాపర్ క్లారిటీ ఉంటే ఇండియన్ జాగ్రఫీ చాలా ఈజీ అవుతుంది. ఇప్పుడు ఐ టాక్ అబౌట్ ఇండియన్ క్లైమేట్, క్లైమటాలజీ ఏమీ తెలియకుండా, విండ్ ప్యాటర్న్స్ ఏం తెలియకుండా డైరెక్ట్ క్లైమేట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా చెప్తే బుర్ర కొట్టుకుంటారు మీరు. సో కాబట్టి వరల్డ్ జాగ్రఫీలో కొన్ని కాన్సెప్ట్స్ చెప్పి అప్పుడు నేను ఐ గెట్ ఇన్ టు ఇండియన్ జాగ్రఫీ అండ్ దెన్ ఐ గెట్ ఇన్ టు స్టేట్ జాగ్రఫీ. తర్వాత ఎన్విరాన్మెంటల్ అండ్ డిజాస్టర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ తర్వాత చేసుకుంటాం. ఎనీ ఎన్సీఆర్టీ మా, దర్ ఇస్ నో స్పెసిఫిక్ థింగ్, ఎనీథింగ్ ఇస్ ఫైన్. ఫస్ట్ 6th and 7th చదవండి. తర్వాత ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ వెరీ మచ్ గుడ్ ఇన్ రీడింగ్, ఇఫ్ యూ కెన్ రీడ్ ఎక్స్క్లూడింగ్ ద ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్ ఆఫ్ 11th ఫస్ట్ బుక్, దట్ ఇస్ ఫండమెంటల్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫిజికల్ జాగ్రఫీలో ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్ ఎక్స్క్లూడ్ చేసి సెకండ్ చాప్టర్ నుంచి ఒక రీడింగ్ ఇచ్చుకొని వెళ్ళిపోండి. 11thలో 2 books ఉన్నాయి, ఫండమెంటల్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫిజికల్ జాగ్రఫీ అండ్ ఇండియా ఫిజికల్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్. సో దాంట్లో ఫండమెంటల్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫిజికల్ జాగ్రఫీలో ఫస్ట్ బుక్ చదవ, ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్ చదవ, ఫస్ట్ బుక్లో ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్ చదవకుండా సెకండ్ చాప్టర్ చదవకుండా వెళ్ళిపోండి. ఓకే, ప్రస్తుతానికి 2 క్లాసెస్ అమ్మా. యా, మండే నుంచి 2 classes. ప్రిలిమ్స్లో ఉంది సార్, వరల్డ్ జాగ్రఫీ అని ఉంది, వరల్డ్ జాగ్రఫీ అని స్పెసిఫిక్ ఉంది కదా ప్రిలిమ్స్లో. వరల్డ్ జాగ్రఫీ, ఇండియన్ జాగ్రఫీ, తెలంగాణ జాగ్రఫీ అని ఉంటుంది. ఉందా? అరే ప్రిలిమ్స్లో ఏముంది భయ్, చూడండి ఇక్కడ, ఇక్కడ చూడు సిలబస్లో వరల్డ్ జాగ్రఫీ, ఇండియన్ జాగ్రఫీ, జాగ్రఫీ ఆఫ్ తెలంగాణ క్లియర్ ఉంది కదా ఇక్కడ. మరి నేను ప్రిలిమ్ అంటున్నా, నేను మెయిన్లో వరల్డ్ జాగ్రఫీ లేదు, కానీ ఇండియన్ జాగ్రఫీ అర్థం కావాలంటే కొద్దిగా బేసిక్స్ ఆఫ్ వరల్డ్ జాగ్రఫీ కావాలి, ప్లస్ అది కూడా ప్రిలిమ్ ఓరియంటెడ్ కూడా కొద్దిగా కావాలి. కాబట్టి కొన్ని కాన్సెప్ట్స్ చెప్తాను మీకు అంతే. మీకు వరల్డ్ జాగ్రఫీలో టోపోగ్రఫీస్ ఎన్ని ఉన్నాయి, అవి మనకి సిలబస్లో అక్కర్లేదు, అవి నేను చెప్పను. క్లైమటాలజీలో చాలా మేజర్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయి, అన్ని కాన్సెప్ట్స్ చెప్పక్కర్లేదు, కొన్ని బేసిక్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ మీకు చెప్తాను. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు ఇండియా is a country which has been impacted by good number of cyclones on a regular basis. Why? Or east coast of India has been with good number of cyclones. Why? ఇప్పుడు సైక్లోన్ అంటే తెలియాలిగా బేసిక్స్. మాన్సూన్ అరైవల్, మాన్సూన్ బ్రేక్, మాన్సూన్ ఎందుకు వస్తుంది తెలియాలిగా. టెంపరేచర్ అంటే ఏంటి, ప్రెషర్ అంటే ఏంటి తెలియాలిగా. మనం ఇంటర్మీడియట్లో చదివాం, వాట్ ఈస్ టెంపరేచర్, వాట్ ఈస్ టెంపరేచర్. ఇంటర్మీడియట్ అందరూ చదివచ్చాము, వాట్ ఈస్ టెంపరేచర్. వెరీ గుడ్, ద హాట్నెస్ ఆర్ కోల్డ్నెస్ ఆఫ్ బాడీ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ టెంపరేచర్. ఇది మనకి ఎప్పుడో చదివాము, ఇప్పుడు గుర్తులేదు, అది మనం ఒప్పుకోవాలి. వాట్ ఈస్ ప్రెషర్, ద ఫోర్స్ పర్ యూనిట్ ఏరియా ఇస్ కాల్డ్ ప్రెషర్. సో ఇవన్నీ బేసిక్స్. సో ఈ బేసిక్స్ అన్నీ ఒకసారి రివైజ్ చేసుకొని మనం జాగ్రఫీ ఇస్ అ సబ్జెక్ట్, ఇట్స్ నాట్ అ సోషల్ సబ్జెక్ట్ మై డియర్, ఇట్స్ అ సైన్స్. నేను మన ఫస్ట్ క్లాస్లో కూడా చెప్పాను మీకు ఇనిషియల్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్లో, నాకు సివిల్ ఇంజనీర్స్, మెకానికల్ ఇంజనీర్స్ అంటే చాలా ఇష్టం అని. ఎందుకంటే వాళ్ళ క్వశ్చన్స్ చాలా ఉంటాయి అడగడానికి నేను. ఓకే, సో కెమిస్ట్రీ కూడా బాగా రావాలి, బయాలజీ బాగా రావాలి, ఫిజిక్స్ కూడా బాగా రావాలి. అదే సార్ చెప్పింది, రెగ్యులర్గా మేము చెప్పింది చదివితే చాలు అంతే. మీరు కూర్చొని ఇలా మధ్యలో సినిమాలు, మధ్యలో షికార్లు లేకుండా కూర్చొని చదవాలి. అదే పని కూర్చొని చదవాలి, రాయాలి. మెయిన్స్ రావాలంటే చదవాలి, రాయాలి. ప్రిలిమ్స్ కావాలంటే యాజ్ మెనీ యాజ్ పాసిబుల్ ఎంసీక్యూ ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయాలి. ఇప్పుడు అది యూపీఎస్సీ ప్రిలిమ్స్, సివిల్స్ ప్రిలిమ్స్ ఏదైనా ఉన్నాయి, గ్రూప్ 1 ప్రిలిమ్స్ ఏదైనా ఉన్నాయి, నువ్వు ఎన్ని ఎంసీక్యూలు ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తే అంత ఎంసీక్యూలు ప్రాక్టీస్. ఇప్పుడు నాకు స్టూడెంట్స్ యూపీఎస్సీ వాళ్ళకి నేను ఒకటే చెప్తాను, నా స్టూడెంట్స్ పర్సనల్గా ఉంటారు నాకు, వాళ్ళకి కూడా చెప్తాను, బాబు ఒక ప్రిలిమ్ ముందుకు వెళ్ళక ముందు అట్లీస్ట్ ఒక 7,000 యూపీఎస్సీ ఎంసీక్యూలు ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసుకొని వెళ్ళంటారు నాన్న అంట. మినిమం 6,000 to 7,000 ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసుకోవాలి. సో ఇక్కడ కూడా అంతే. The more you practice your MCQs, the better your chances of clearing your pre. The more you write, the better your chances for clearing your main. మనకేంటి, we are all from English medium schools, so called English medium schools, కానీ మనకు ఒక సెంటెన్స్ రాయడం కూడా రాదు. Because we were taught in such a way, we have been trained in such a way. ఏంటంటే మనం కట్ కాపీ పేస్ట్ మనకు తెలుసు, గైడ్లు ఇవన్నీ తెలిసిపెట్టి. ఇట్స్ అ ఫ్యాక్ట్, ఒప్పుకోవచ్చా మనం? మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ అస్ ఎస్. సో ఇక్కడ మన సొంతంగా మన సెంటెన్స్ రాయడం రాదు, ఒకటి మనం రాసినా మళ్ళీ కొట్టేస్తాం ఉంటాం, మంచి మధ్యలో కొట్టేసి మళ్ళీ రాస్తాం, హెచ్సి ఈ వర్డ్ కాదు. సో ఇప్పుడు మనం చేయాల్సిన పని ఏంటంటే ప్రాక్టీస్. టెస్ట్ ఉంటుంది కదమ్మా, సో అంతే, అదే అవుతుంది నీకు.
సార్ ఈ సబ్జెక్ట్కి సంబంధించిన కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్ మీరే చెప్తారా?
నేనే చెప్తాను. సరేనా? ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ సెషన్ మీకు ఆన్సర్ రైటింగ్ సెషన్ ఉంది ఒకటి. ఓకే, దట్స్ ఆల్, ఐఎమ్ మూవింగ్. ఎనీ డౌట్స్ ఇంకా స్పెసిఫిక్గా?
Here? How we have what was the first day? Yeah. So for group 1 or group 2? Group 1. Okay. Where are you? Group 1. Okay. Chalo, bye.
Time up.